Dear Dhamma friends, today we arrive at the time for our today's Dhamma talk. To start the Dhamma talk, may everyone consent with 3 times Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Yehi keci bhikkave samanava brahmanava evang vedanang abhiññāya vedana samudayang abhiññāya vedana nirodhang abhiññāya evang vedana nirodhagamini patipadang abhiññāya Vedanaya nibbidaya viragaya nirodhaya patipannate supatipanna ye supatipanna te imasmin dhamma vinaye gadhanti ti. Dhamma friends, for the last 5 days we were dealing with one of the particular discourse delivered by the Buddha, found in the Samyutta Nikaya, specifically in the Khanda Samyutta. This particular discourse is known as Upadana Pariwatta Sutta, that indicate the 4 phases of sensuous, 4 phases of the attachment on our aggregates. So sensuous attachment towards our aggregate, it has 4 phases one has to understand. Then it is very helpful one to see things as they are. So what are the 5 aggregates? It is very common among the scholars, those who have gone into the canon, the form, the materiality, the kaya, and the vedana, the sensations, and sanya, perception, sankhara, the volitional formations, and the vijnana as the consciousness. So each and every one, or we can say with respect to each and every one can understand 4 noble truths. As far as the form is concerned, one has to understand what does it mean by the form according to the nomenclature of the Buddha or the Tipitaka, and then how does it arises, and what is the cessation of it, and what is the way leading to this very cessation. So we took about 3 to 4 days dealing on these formations and stepped up into the second aggregate of clinging, that is to say the feelings or Vedana, and there also we dealt it for the last 2 days. I thought of taking that further even on the 3rd day, because it is very important as well as very quite related to our meditative life. So far as the sensations are concerned, on the way or in our map towards the Nibbana, it is appearing at the 3rd, 4th stage of our purification. That means we specifically in the Rattavinita Sutta, the Buddha came out with specifically when Punnamantani Buddha came out with 7 stages of purification. That is purification of virtues, purification of the mind, and purification of the views, and overcoming the doubts, and then only come to the understanding the path and the non-path, and selecting the correct path, giving up of the wrong path. So this particular purification has some relations with this understanding or proper understanding of feelings. Because in the meditation, specifically in the insight meditation, when you are progressing, when you are coming So when you are reaching this contemplation on the feelings, of feelings, you are meeting up with this particular barrier or particular task, or you are arriving at the junction in a biforked road to select the correct path. So whenever you come up to that level, you must have very clear preparation, preparedness to understand the correct path and give up the wrong path. So that is why the understanding of, purification of understanding on path and non-path is coming to be. That in the meditation, experimental or empirical way, or in the practical way, whenever you manage to reach a certain amount of mindfulness and the concentration with respect to the primary object, you are for the first time going to feel the gladness, rapture, pleasurable feelings in your meditation, whereby it fairly come under your control. Predictably, you can live there, sometimes maybe 30-40 minutes, sometimes exceeding 1 hour. So it is, you are reaching with so much of strategies, so much of your ways and means. That is how you can keep the object face to face and take the situation under control, so that all the hindrances, the negative factors will be removed, the situation will be very clear, and you can let the meditation happen in autopiloting mode. You can let everything happen, so that assurance is there, mind is no more wandering off. And not only that, even the background sounds, bodily pains, or other usual wandering thoughts, daydreaming and fantasizing, even if they are at the background, mind knows the art how to take the refuge of the primary object, though it is very subtle, so that navigation is very easy. When you come up to that level only, the gladness and the pleasure going to come. Whenever that is going to happen, if you are to overestimate it and going to get indulge into that, that indicates the wrong path. Amidst of all the possible good signs, still if you can depend upon, dwell upon the primary object, even if it is very subtle, or otherwise you can say dwelling upon on the materiality, then easily you can sort it out. This is a temporary kind of pleasure, temporary kind of gladness, so that if you are going to get trapped into that, definitely you are losing the correct path. So you have to come back to the correct understanding and navigate the or steer the path to the correct. So that is what you find in the Irimananda Sutta and the Anapanasati Sutta. Pīti parisangvedi asasissamiti sikkati, pīti parisangvedi pasasissamiti sikkati. That means even though you are experiencing a rapture, even though you are experiencing the gladness, still you have to restrain yourself with respect to the in-breath, with respect to the out-breath. So that means that definitely rising and the appearance of this gladness, light and lightness and all the kind of thing, is not the hindrance, or it is not the kind of a thing you must get attracted to. Something like as if that thoughts are there, some kind of inner thoughts, and without paying heed, how do you going to take the primary object as your refuge and forget and forgive about these thoughts and go exactly the way here the rapture, the gladness going to happen. So whenever that happens, of course, you are get magnetized into that, can't help. But once in a way, or even after second, third incident, you must come to understand, be aware, this itself will be a trap if I am going to get attracted into that. Therefore, I must understand to refer back to my main track, that is to make the primary object in vivid and make it more and more subtle. So that is why the Piti Parisanvedi Pasasisamiti Sikkati, Piti Parisanvedi Pasasisamiti Sikkati. When that goes further, the higher grade of pleasure going to rise. So Sukha Parisanvedi Asasisamiti Sikkati, Sukha Parisanvedi Pasasisamiti Sikkati, even that overwhelming kind of a pleasure going to happen, you must not lose the track with the in-breath. You must not lose the track with the out-breath. So the remark is, at that level, hardly you can feel the in-breath and out-breath. It is so subtle. And you can hardly feel the touching point. Whether it is at the right nostril or left nostril, or whether you are on the top of your upper lip, or if you are meditating on the rising and falling, you can feel whether it is at the particular touching point. And not only that, you can hardly or never, you would say, you can see the difference between the in-breath and out-breath. You can see the difference between the rising and falling. And if I am to give more criterion, hardly you can differentiate thinking, pain, sounds, primary object, in-breath and out-breath, everything come into the same bubbles. Appear like just a movement. As if rain is going to happen on a water body. So whenever the rainwater drops, you can see how the water surface appear. Exactly like everything appear like rising and passing away. So such a pleasure going to happen. So therefore, in order to not to entertain or not to indulge the pleasure, but to come back to your primary object, you must have a such a continuity, such a tracing back quality to your mindfulness. You must not let the mindfulness to break. It is, that is what the meaning of Satipatthana. The Sati must be well established, well founded, so that you must understand that this Sati become very, very important when you come up to that level, specifically whenever the meditation is going to become good, whenever the meditation is going to give a good feelings, that means gladness, rapture and the pleasure. As if when you are crossing a footbridge in the villages, usually they put just a trunk across a waterways, a brook or a canal, and when you are balancing, there's a one rail on one side. And from the beginning, when you are starting from the bank, you have to hold on to the this rail, and when you go to the middle of the footbridge, it is little wavy and bumpy and shaky, so therefore there you have to really get hold into the rail by your hand. Otherwise, that if you are going to look here and there, you are now in the cliff. If you are falling, now you are in a dangerous position. And when you go middle into, it's become more and more bumpy. So exactly like now the meditation as well as your purifications has come to the real center. So there you must not lose the track with the primary object. If you are managing that, that is how you are making use to a primary object in a very subtle way. You are making use of your mindfulness in a very continuous and take it as a refuge and like way, and you are sacrificing all the other kind of things, even the non-materialistic pleasure coming out of this meditation, and then only you can trace, go along with the mindfulness and touch with the primary object, even though it is subtle, and that is how you are navigating in this troubled water. So it is a task. I would say there is not a single challenge in the worldly knowledges, challenging like this one. So any person having any kind of mastery on any subject will be at the Montessori level for this test. He has to completely start right from the beginning, because this is never you can teach in a classroom, never in a subject matter. This is fully involved thing. Unless otherwise you are ready to sacrifice, you can't go beyond. And any technical writings or instructions won't help. Any merit you have done other than insight meditation never will be useful in this time. And any blessings you have earned, no use. So there it's a real acid test. So whenever the feelings are going to become your challenge, you are really undergoing a real test. So this has connection with your day-to-day restrainment with your faculties. Yesterday we tried to find the relationship there also, and today I thought of going more into that. That is how you can facilitate this task in sitting meditation. That is to say, unless otherwise you restrain yourself in the day-to-day activities, very difficult you can do to achieve this subtle calibration, the fine-tuning in the sitting meditation. And the other thing is, if you are to see clearly how these sensations are arising, for example, the rapture, the gladness or happiness, pleasure arising out of meditation is going to give a very good exercise or very good analysis for you to see how the sensuous pleasure arises out of the materiality or materialistic pleasure or karma guna arising, because here you are pure, your mind is no much of Nissarana, or no much of hindrances, and you see whenever the things are getting aligned, there's a kind of a immaterial pleasure going to arise, and how whenever the pleasure arises, the attachment comes into being, the magnetizing power comes into being, and being this is something spiritual, you can get a better chance to see the pleasure is one thing, the attachment to the pleasure is something other. Whenever you are facing with the pleasure, if you manage to not to get attached, that you have come to the correct path. But the attachment is coming in the same package. And if you are going to get trapped, definitely you will get caught up into the whirlpool and never progress. So this same thing going to give a understanding, lucidity, clarity for you to tackle this sensuous pleasure. So therefore, if you are really serious, if you are really religious bias, if you are really thinking about the moral integrity and moral responsibility, such a person only can understand the deep analysis of the Buddha and his instructions. Unless otherwise, they will definitely say, whenever the pleasure happens, the attachment is part and parcel of the pleasure. So how can I discriminate the pleasure and the attachment? But here it is happening in very subtle layers or subtle levels, so that you can take it. And when you are applying into the sensuous pleasure, the Buddhist scriptures explain the sensuous pleasure in two ways, Vastu Kama and Kilesa Kama. The Vastu Kama means that the startling, the pleasure-giving objects. That means pleasurable visual objects, pleasurable sounds, pleasurable smells, pleasurable tastes, and pleasurable comfortable touch, and pleasurable pet ideas. But it is Vastu Kama, therefore materialistic, specifically related to the early five faculties. And whenever they arise, there's a Kilesa Kama arises. Kilesa Kama is something, one of your instinct, erotic instinct. If you have a that erotic instinct, that is the what going to get the cling with the vastuka. That's subjective and objective difference. Whenever the subjective sensuality come into contact with your physical or your faculties, unless otherwise there is an objective sensuality coming within, there is no such a trap. There is no such a hook. There is no such a whirlpool. You are free. That is what the Buddha says. If a monk or mendicant, if he knows the nature of sensation, if he knows how the arising of the sensation, if he verily knows how it is ceasing to exist in the sphere of sensation and the way leading to that, such a person is well emancipated. So, such an emancipated person will never get trapped by this, whatever the subjective sensuality. So, that is why I mentioned that unless otherwise you master in your meditation sitting cushion, you can't apply it to the day-to-day life. In the reciprocal way, if you are not restraining your faculties in the day-to-day life, very difficult to experience this. So it is a paradoxical situation. But whatever it may be, the Buddhist scripture is going to say whenever such a attachment, upadana, or clinging going to happen, the two has to come together. The subjective sensuality and the objective sensuality. The subjective sensuality is the what the world is searching for in terms of luxuries, in terms of richness, in terms of development. And for that only the whole research and development is going on. And whenever you have so much of subjective sensuality, you feel you are rich. But they can be reification, validation happen as far as you have the objective sensuality. So when it is going to get the emancipation part, when you are going to get rid of that, all the rich people are in a heavily high tension trap. They have earned so much of sensuality with so much of overtime work, and maybe coming from Sri Lanka to America, and earn all the kind of thing. The day you're going to get rid of that, you understand they are part and partial, and internally you have some objective part, and when they come together, it is becoming a real task. But even then, the Buddha very clearly explained the subjective one is not the real trap. The objective, your Kilesakama, is the real trap. Dr. Padmasiriddha Silva is analyzing the Freudian and Buddhist psychology. He clearly go very deep into that and then explain how much the Freud managed to see these two, the erotic instinct and the object. Whenever a feeling to arise, these two has to come together. He clearly indicated that erotic instinct is the more important thing, not the object. So therefore, if someone wishes to get emancipated from this sensuous pleasure, he is not the person, he is much worrying about the object, or that means subjective sensuality. Instead, he has to take care about the objective sensuality. There are a number of issues, number of discourses. Buddha has given very clear indication as if that if the world is full of thorns, in order to not to get pricked, you can cover the whole world with leather. Or instead you can wear a pair of slippers. So wearing pair of slippers is easier because you are protecting whenever you keep the leg. Whatever the thorns available, you are protected. Exactly the way the Buddha says, if you are ready not only the moral responsibility and the just observing the precepts, but go further into that, restraining your faculties in whatever the world which is full of sensuality and sexuality, you can maintain your integrity. You can maintain your moral background. So that is why, specifically in the Indriya Bhavana Sutta, it's a very appealing one, that is, you find in the last one in the Majjhima Nikaya, the middle end sayings, it says a very nice episode whereby the Buddha and the Venerable Ananda is in a mood whereby the visitor come, pay a visit, Uttaramana. His name is Uttaramana. He is a disciple of Parasarya. That means he belongs to another sect. And when he comes, the Buddha is just having a greetings and says that you also very seriously meditating and having a mendicant life. In your discipline also, does your master teach yourself on the restraining of faculties? Then he says, he was happy, and he says, the Buddha, yes, our master also really emphasizing this fact. He is telling that we mendicants, or people living the recluse life, must have the restraining of the faculties. Then the Buddha says, I would like to know in detail how does your master prescribe the restraining of faculty. Then he says, our master says, don't to look at the visual objects, restrain your eye, not to look at not to hear the appealing sounds, restrain your ear, and likewise he explained. And then the Buddha gave a very sarcastic kind of analysis, and he said, Venerable Ananda, oh, if that is the case, Ananda, born blind will be already Arahant. And the born deaf people also will be already Arahant because they have no way to observe or see, hear. And then that the person who gave the answer, he accepted and he bent down his head. And then the Buddha says, Ananda, really once in a time, the omniscient one come into being in this world, and he himself also prescribing restraining of faculties. And then he stops at that. Luckily, Venerable Ananda go forward and pay respect and says, Venerable Sir, please, out of compassion of the human being, you may declare the type of restrainment of faculties that is prescribed by the omniscient one. Then when the Buddha says, okay, if you are asking like that, be heedful, listen carefully, I am going to teach you what is the prescription of the Buddha towards this restrainment faculty. He says, the person who is restraining, wish to restrain, must understand Chakkuna rupan diswa uppajjati manapam uppajjati amanapam uppajjati manapam. Whenever the eye going to see a visual object, invariably either desire or hatred or neutral feeling going to arise. That means whenever the contact going to happen, definitely the feeling arises. That feeling has only three modes, either desire or hatred or neutral, manapa, manapa. Whenever it happens, the person who is well instructed, ready to restrain, he will reflect that very desire, the very hatred or very neutral feeling. This is just dependent arising thing. It's very transient. So therefore, I must not follow that. Instead, I must try to keep the mind in equipoised position. Balanced position, the very arising of the desire and the hatred is very transient, very quickly passing. It is arising due to the cause and effect. So that means the vastu kama is there, the object of, on the sense, the subject to sensuality is there. But as far as it comes in avenue with the eye, or sensitivity of the eye, or come into the range with, and then whenever the seeing happens, invariably the desire or hatred arises, and that is more transient than the particular object. And if I am going to proliferate upon that, going to make projections along that, definitely I am leading to wrong decisions, and all the conclusions and inferences will be questionable. So therefore I must observe it and try to maintain the equipoise or equilibrium. So if it is so, the particular person will not be taken for a ride by the desire or hatred. Instead, there's a better chance to keep the mind together with the eye in the equilibrium, or upekka, or the equipoised, balanced position. So this is the task that you have to do. That is the way the beginner or a person who is training according to the restraint of faculties should work. So that means the observing of the visual object is something coming from out to in, and when that happens, the arising of the desire or hatred is something coming from in to out. When these two come together only, the seeing happens. Whenever that happens, if you are going to dragon away, taken for a ride by that desire and going to hug it, going to maximize it, and going to claim it that I am the person, see that beautiful thing, I have very luckily good eyes, and the good fast fortune, that is why I am going to say like that. If you are going to assume with that particular the desire, soon that is going to become another, otherwise, undergoing quick transient, that is called sensation or transference. Whenever that transference is going to happen, you are the very person who assume is the very person subjected to these changes and end up with suffering. Because you don't think it's transient nature. So if you are prepared, if you are respecting the Buddha, if you are thinking about restraining faculties, out of 1001 times, at least once, you have to understand, now I am engaged with my eye. Not the ear, not the nose, not the tongue, not the body, not the mind, but the eye. Now I am a seer. Whenever the seeing happens, either the desire or hatred or neutral feeling is going to happen, am I to note it as and when it arises? The desire as desire, hatred as hatred, or neutral feeling as neutral feeling. If then only you can understand the message of the Buddha, the analytical approach of the Buddha. This very desire is very transient. It is dependent arising. And it is not going to give a lasting foundation, so upon that I must not proliferate. Instead, if you are unmindful, and if you are going to take what you have seen as me, mine and myself, definitely you will take this as a base and you will keep on proliferating, thinking that the pleasure is kind of a permanent thing. I am lucky, and my evaluation, the aesthetic thing as aesthetic is a real, I have that quality, and also you keep on dreaming upon this transient thing. So ultimately you are the one going to lost whenever the sensational transfer is going to happen. So this is what we have to take it in our heart. And then the Buddha gives yet another cross-section where whenever someone becomes a seeker, or one may become either Sotapatti, or Sotapanna, or Sakadagami or Anagami, he has not completed his training. Under such circumstances, he also confronted with the visual objects. I am taking one faculty, so you can make deductive knowledge exactly towards hearing, smelling, touching. Whenever the visual object going to confront, for him also exactly the same way, the desire or hatred or neutral feeling going to happen. He is so much trained, he is so much prepared, he is so much believing what the Buddha says. Therefore, when and where the desire arises, he simply become ashamed. He come to know the law of the nature, law of the mind. It is naturally developing the desire or naturally developing the hatred. Attiyati harayati jagucchati. He never claimed that I have done a very great thing of entertaining this kind of, I see the aesthetic part. Instead, he feels ashamed, he disclaims it. So whatever the desire arisen is not me, not mine, not myself. So therefore, he is easily can go into the equanimous position, because first way, the best way he work with it, becoming an unclaimer, a disclaimer. And he feel ashamed, as far as I have a human mind, whatever the achievement I have, I still have the desire. I still have the hatred. I still have the no desire, no hatred kind of feeling. And soon he comes to know. So that his disclaimer, his shamefulness, you can read in the Ratana Sutta, yang kinchi kammang karoti papakam kayena vacha udacettasava abambhoso tassa patichadaya abambhataditta padassa. For him, for such a person also, there are some physical misdeeds can happen, or verbal misdeeds can happen, or mental misdeeds can happen, such as that arising of the sensuous or sexual desire, or hatred whenever you see an enemy. For example, for Sri Lankan, whenever you see Prabhakaran, the hatred arises. And you think after becoming Sotapan, it should not arise. It is not the case. The Buddha says, if the Prabhakaran is there, if you are born Sri Lankan, definitely even after becoming Sotapanna, you arise. But only the difference is, you can't hide it. Or you will not be carried away. Yang kinchi kammang karoti papakam. Whatever the bad thing you are going to commit in physical, verbal or mental deed, yang kinchi kammang karoti papakam kayena vacha udacettasava. Physical, verbal and mental. Abambhoso tassa patichadaya. He can't hide it. Immediately he comes to know, due to the instinct, patriotic instinct, whenever that happens, that hatred arises. Whenever the Buddha images happen, the desire arises. So he is so clear, abambhoso tassa patichadaya abambhataditta padassa butta. So therefore he declared directly, due to this visual object, hatred arises. Due to this visual object, the desire arises. So immediately he understands it is not becoming to me to have such a desire or such a hatred. So then and there it loses. They give that as if a drop of dew falling from the blade of grass, immediately he comes to know that the desire rises, it drops off. Or as if you take a little bit of saliva into a tip of your tongue and throw away, spit off, exactly the way it will drop off. Or otherwise you put a drop of water into a petal of lotus and it will drop off without smearing, exactly the way it will drop off. And as you are winking your eyes, the moment you come to know this desire arising in me or hatred arising in me, it drop off. So therefore he is in such a way, still it is arising, but soon it arises. He is not worrying much about the object, or that means the subjective sensuality. He takes care about the objective side, therefore he is safe. And then the Buddha goes back to the Arahant, and he says, the fully enlightened being, whenever such a desirable thing arises, he knows that an untrained mind, or sacred mind, or partly trained mind, is going to develop the desire upon this desirable object. But whenever it arises, he is getting a mastery so that he can have three channels. Either he can feel desirability, or he can feel the undesirability, or he can be neutral. Whenever he is going to see a undesirable object, even then if you wish, he can develop the desire. He can go into the undesirability, or he can go into a neutral feeling. Even if he is going to see a neutral thing, out of the neutral feeling, neutral thing, he can develop desirability. He can develop undesirability, he can be neutral. So therefore, he is the only master knowing each and every subjective sensuality have three doorways. Untrained mind is a slave. Whenever the desire arises, he is invariably fall into desire, and then he will be taken away by for a ride. Dragon off, that is how you become a slave to the subjective sensuality, because you have no control on the objective sensuality. So therefore, for an arahant, whatever the object it may be, is completely independent. He can have whatever he likes to have internally. So therefore, he is not worried whether he is living amidst of all the titillating things, or whether living among the other arahants, or whether he is living in the forest or nothing. Because he knows he is God. So it's a very good challenge for the people, those who are taking the mindfulness as their subject. It is not a mere thing to sit and meditate. Whenever you are going to have the see, hearing, smelling, touching, each and every time it's an equal challenge for each and everyone to understand, am I a seer, or am I a hearer, or am I a person smelling, am I a person tasting or touching or thinking? That understanding itself is a great challenge. Because we don't know, we have no agenda. We are running from one to the other at the rate. So-called when we are in the multitask. So if you are managing to see, and then you can say each and every seeing, each and every hearing have a three doorways. Either you can have a desire, or hatred, or neutral feeling. If you are really as and when it arises, if you are not delayed, if you are not negligent, if you are vigilant, if you are diligent, if you are mindful, you can understand, now on this subjective sensuality, my objective desire arises, or hatred arises. If you can note it, you can nip it at the bud. But if you are negligent, if you are failing to desire, it is growing at a fast rate. More and more you go to the arising part, you are better off. That is why the Buddha says, as far as the feelings are concerned, it is applicable for all the five aggregates. More you go towards the arising part of the desire or hatred, more you are better off towards getting rid of the nirodha, the tapering off, the relinquishment. So, if you are delayed to see the beginning, definitely the sensation, feeling will take control upon you. You become the slave. And there is no word you are blaming upon others, telling that particular object aroused my sensuality or sexuality, aroused the hatred. So therefore, that external subjective sensuality is the one to be punished. That is what all the judges in the world doing. So therefore, my teacher, who is in Burma, he says at least these judges should have second chance experience, so they have got the feelings as a object to meditate, then only they can pass a judgment. Otherwise they are supporting the sensuality. Because they know only the sensuality, how the hell he can understand by subjective sensuality. He is not concerned, he don't know there is an objective sensuality or the erotic instinct. He is not concerned because they are not exposed to that. So we are living in such a world. And therefore all the judgment we are taking 100% as justice and good and kind of thing. But from the Buddha's point of view, that maybe I think he is looking at half smile to this mad world. You can see whenever you are having the sarcastic smile in his mind. Not it is sarcastic, but the way the world is running. They are in the pursuit of pleasure. Everyone is running behind this pleasure-seeking game. So one upmanship, the rat race, and running, and therefore one man will be hit the other, then the case comes into the court, and then the judge is passing the judgment telling, you are correct, you are wrong, and all the kind. And we are happily sleeping telling, that judgment is correct. The day you come to know this, the feelings, you will see how this trap is fixed, no way out. In this worldly sense, in this worldly knowledge. So one day, it's a very dramatic thing happened, that has also been recorded, therefore we can understand how subtle it is. One day, there were a lot of monks very seriously meditating, and Buddha is giving very subtle instructions, so that to be mindful, be on the ball, diligent, vigilant. When that happens, the Mara, the evil one, came to know these minds are now well geared. So if I am to keep this balance and the alignment, definitely few people will going to enlighten, so they are going beyond my jurisdiction. So therefore it is a loss for me. So therefore I must go and disturb this. So when such a nice discussion is going on, discourse is going on, he all of a sudden appear like a farmer with a big body, with muddy soiled legs, and having a stick on his hand. All of a sudden came and asked the Buddha, oh, Gautama the Buddha, did you see my buffaloes? As if a person lost the buffaloes and in search of. Then Buddha looked at him and come to know, who is this coming? And immediately Buddha understand, he says, Papi Mara, what is the use of buffaloes for you? And then and there the Mara came to know, the Buddha recognized properly, and that he loses his power. That is the one beautiful thing. Whatever the defilement, if you can recognize it, it loses the power. If you are misrecognize it, you are giving the boost. That is what will happen. So that is what the Buddha said, that when and where the desire arises, if you have to recognize, diagnose, that itself is the answer. When if the hatred arises, if you have to diagnose, that itself is the answer. There is no other medicine. The diagnosis itself is the answer. That is the in Sabbasava Sutta, Buddha says that Dassana Pahatabha. Just by seeing, you can be free of. So exactly the same thing happened, but still the Mara is making such a statement. Yo vadanti mamaidanti, yang vadanti mamanti cha, yasta ete manoatti kohen samana muchasiti. Then he is telling the Buddha, you mind you, if you say, I am the person who see, if he say, I am the person have the control of my mind that I can see beautiful things, I can be all the kind of things. And if you are doing it in the volitional way, with the will, you have no escape. Because this I is mine, the visual object is mine, and the consciousness arising out of the I consciousness is mine. So therefore, if you are going to claim this as yours, you are already in my trap. So what a kind of challenge. The Maha says, your visual object is already mine. When you come to the America, it is very clear. Everything is trapped. Everything is ready. And your I itself is more towards the Mara, not to the Buddha. So always searching and seeking about sensuality. And the very arising of the I consciousness, depending on your erratic instinct, it is also towards the Mara. If that is the case, how is the way out? Then the Buddha says, Yo vadanti mamanti cha yang vadanti aham. Yeah, if anyone going to say this is me, or this is mine, or this is my soul, I am not that type. Therefore, mind you, Mara, you can't even see the trace of my path. When I escape, you can't tackle me, you can't track me down. Because I am not the type of person claiming this is me, this is mine, and this is my soul. So that was the end of the challenging of the Mara. So we also, whenever we are developing at least one split second, or 1 out of 1001 chances, whenever we see a beautiful thing, the mind going to claim it, this is me, what I see is mine, I am the lucky person who saw it, and when that happens, if you can understand, this is not me, this is not mine, this is not myself, it's a very transient thing. So, not for your whole life, not for your whole popularity of the human nature. Even for split second, if you can see, for that split second you are in Nibbana. For that moment, Mara lost. You are the winner. So therefore, we have to train whenever we will say, for example, get up from our good sitting position, mind is very serene and not running up and down, and we are getting up and go for walking meditation or maybe to the day-to-day activities. Over there you can still experience the calm mind. And there, whenever there's something going to happen, seeing or hearing or smelling or touching, if you are mindful, sharp and diligent to see how the internal objective kind of sensuality arises, you can understand sometimes the objectively how it arises. And when and where it arises, if you can note it, track it, and there is no more it can go. Whatever the positive thing or that desirable thing or whatever the negative thing or destructive, immediately come into the equanimous level. Soon you see the beginning of the rises. So this you can apply in the walking meditation. For example, when you are walking in the middle of your walking path, if you happen to gain certain amount of mindfulness and the concentration, and you go and stop at the end, and when you are turning, you are much more succumb to see visual objects, hear sounds, and the other bodily movements, so therefore your trend of the mindfulness will be broken. Because that the mind going to take a chance not to just adhere into the bodily contact, instead becoming a chakku vijnana, engage with the see, engage with hearing, engage with the other kind of thing, because it is always waiting for varietal entertainment, diversification. So it is a very good place at the end of the walking path. But if you determine at the end of your walking path, I have a certain amount of mindfulness, while I am rotating, while I am turning back, can I maintain the same mindfulness so that I can start the way back also? Over there, if you go and observe, you may see whenever the mind, the channel changing from the physical touch of the soul to the eye. First you see kind of a glare, and still you don't know what is the object you are to see, whether it's male or female, it is, you see. And that is a good indication telling that channel changed. Then and there, if you are to be mindful and go back to the breath, touch of the foot, then you will not be dragged into the eye consciousness. And instead, if you become inquisitive as to see the kind of glare came into being, should I go into and see whether it's a male or female or coming or going? Then the second thought moment you have to give the consent, then only the mind permanently changing from the touching sensation of the leg to the eye. And then onward you can see the shape, the manner, the everything, and that means you are completely cut off from the sensation of the foot. So therefore it is not happening at once. And therefore Abhidhamma and the commentary exegesis, it says there are at least 4 thought moments for a solid visual object to happen. At the beginning you get just a glare, just a kind of a patch. It is not marked well as to say it is yellow, green, tall, short, it's female, male, nothing. Second, third thought moments you are going to give with your consent, and then only it can come out to the full-fledged understanding. So each these moments are good opportunities for someone to reinstall mindfulness. That's a very, in order to explain it, there's a very nice episode has been mentioned in our commentarial exegesis. There had been one monk, he was meditating in Sagiriya. Sagiriya is the Mihintali. And it is fairly distance from the Anuradhapura. So one day it happened him to go back to the Anuradhapura. So it's a walking distance, maybe a few kilometers. So what they do is they early morning get up and start. When the sun risen, they are already in Anuradhapura and they can have the breakfast in Anuradhapura in the almshouse. So early morning he get up and he is going from Mihintale to Anuradhapura. Anuradhapura is a fairly town. Mihintale is a monastery. When you go in there, when the dusk happens, the dawn happens, there was a rushing lady coming towards the forest. And soon she see a monk, she became a little ashamed and giving a kind of a smile to the monk and rush towards the forest. And the monk also noticed immediately, he has been a very senior, prudent, veteran monk meditating on the skeleton. Soon he see the bones of teeth. So he started atti, taken the sign of the teeth and he meditated. Few steps time, he managed to see the whole skeleton and the white color. Through that he managed to go into the jhanic experiences, and ultimately it was a good chance for him to become an arhat while walking. So what happened was that lady and her husband had a quarrel, fighting previous day. Early morning, the wife is running towards her mother's house before the husband get up. You know, husbands are getting up little late. So the woman is running. And soon what happens is the husband get up and see the wife is not there. He guess definitely she would have gone to her mother's place. He is chasing behind. And he also see the same one coming very serene and asks, Bante, did you see a woman? Then he says, I don't know whether it's a male or woman, male, man or female or female. I see a set of teeth going. Because that is the only he see. Soon he see the sign of the teeth. He went back to his secure place of meditation rather than seeing the extra other details, whether it's a male, female kind of. So therefore the Buddha says, Chakkuna Rupandiswa, whenever you are to, whenever, for example, you go to the walking meditation at the end of the path and you know that mindfulness can be disturbed, so therefore if you are taking the guard, or be prepared, Chakkuna Rupandiswa, na nimittak gayi hoti, nanu vyanjanam gayi hoti. You must not try to get signs of that. You must not try to get all the other demarcations of that. Yatvadi karana metang asangutang virantang uppajjati papaka akusala dhamma satta sangvaraya apajjati. Whenever you are going to take these signs, whenever you are going to take the details, that always mirrored with this, the objective sensuality. So therefore, if you are going to take detail, that means you are promoting it. Whatever may be the defilements yet to arise, or potential to arise, if you wish to control them, you have to guard your eye. So that means, whatever the thing going to happen, it is not the fault of the object, but the objective sensuality, it is arising, giving at least 4 chances for you to stop at. That is very swift. Very swift. The eye is the most trickiest object. So therefore, most of our defilement arising with the faculty of eye. So therefore, whenever you become blind, whenever your vision becomes weak, you become whole life is black and white, dull. You feel that whole enjoyment gone. The Venerable Jnanaponika, who himself wrote this Power of Mindfulness, he lived up to the 92 years, and 80 onward, he was fairly blind. Bhikkhu Bodhi happened to daily go back and at least read the newspaper. And whenever he is reading the newspaper, Venerable Jnanaponika is dozing. And Bhikkhu Bodhi knows it. He has asked Bhante, are you vigilant and listen? No. When the eye faculty is gone, the whole mind is done. I wish to read that, I wish to listen that. I know you are coming from the work and reading me with the whole devotion, but mind is done. So that is because eye is the most virulent germ or the door creating so much of defilement because it's so swift. So therefore the Buddha recommend one to be conscious about the restrainment of eye at the last. Next is the ear. Ear is easier than the eye. And the nose and the tongue, and the easiest is the body. So whenever the tactile sensation is going to happen, the desire or hatred is bound to arise, or neutral feeling. So whenever the breathing going to take place, when it is subtle, the pleasure going to arise. When and where it is going to arise, if you are demarcating, that sensation is something coming from the out to in, and this very desire is something from in to out, and you can demarcate. So the same thing you can apply when you are walking. If you are in the rugged soil, barefoot, you can feel. And if you are walking on a smooth floor, you can feel, because each and every touch is related with the sensation. Feeling, the value judgment, right, correct, pleasure, pain. That whenever you are going to understand it, that is the easiest point. And then you can understand whenever the food touching your taste buds, immediate judgment happens. This is pleasurable, this is not pleasurable, this is medium. So your vehement attachment is to go for the pleasure. Whether it is healthy or not, it doesn't matter. You are just chasing behind that. So therefore that is what that Professor Lily Silva wrote the book, The Suicide by Your Tongue. It's a very cool way. Because you don't care about what you are eating, you are just going by the pleasure, or by the taste. And the smell also the same. And the hearing, whatever the serious Dhamma talk going to happen, you dosing. You are not listening, because you feel it is very deep. How can I understand why it is not applicable to us? Instead, if you are going to go to a Jataka story, you can full awake and you can listen to the whole full hour. Because talking about the Siddhartha, very good. But after the enlightenment, no, we are not prepared yet, it is very serious. Visual objects also, in the Vesak day and go to the Torana, you will be happy Vesak, not on the happy Vesak. But if you are going to listen to a discourse or something like that, or something serious, that is the way it happens. This is human nature. Don't claim this as my fault or as an inherent thing. This is the nature. So once you understand it, if you are going to go to a sensuous world, you are in the wrong place. You will be earmarked as something wrong and you will be destined to asylum. But instead, if you are going to a Kalyana Mitra, or going to a group of virtuous beings, spiritual beings, you will understand how much we have to season it, how much we have to be acquainted with, how much we have to be frequent with, how much we have to be deal with this kind of idea to change our mindset. So are we facilitating it? Or are we blindfoldly just going through this, the same rut? So as far as you are not going to take serious measurements toward the restrainment of faculties, the mindfulness meditation in sitting, it is just a lab experiment. You are not going to put into the field level or in at the national level. So therefore, it has to go through these advanced stages. Whenever the Kayana Pasana is finished, I am not telling that the stage-wise or the batch system, I am telling in the particular sitting, and then mind is naturally going to this Vedananupasana. That means contemplation on the feelings. When that happens, you lost. You come back to the same whirlpool, you feel something like meeting up with the wall. You can't go through. Because your day-to-day activities, you are not restraining your faculties, you are not concerned about your morality, you are not concerned about the faith on the Buddha, you are not prepared. So under such circumstances, very difficult to go through this world. But it is a good sign that you have already mastered somewhat of the material or the form. But whenever the feeling is going to happen, we are the society at large, or leave it at the society at large, even the meditators, even not at the Montessori level. Because they are so much in a rut to maximize their pleasure. They are hardly ready to give up their likings and dislikings. Hardly they are ready to reconsider their personality traits. Under such circumstances, very difficult, only the mindfulness itself to take the battlefront. So in the medicine also, now they come to know, you have to have a behavioral medicine, otherwise the medicine won't give a lasting answer. They are doing miracles, but the next day again the same feeding, same dwelling, same way of thinking, you are putting back to the same symptoms. That is how the medical world has been developed with this pharmaceutical industry. You become slave into this. But instead, the Ayurvedic medicine, it says, if you have this disease, think about the ahara, vihara, mano, vyapara. Think about your feeding habit. Think about your living pattern. Think about your mental setup. And without that, no way out. So exactly the business Buddhism in America, this is talking about the healing and the cure. They never think about prevention. And if you are going to say, it says this is too much of religious, this is too much of spirituality, so we are secular ethics enough. That is what the meditation going. It is also fairly a breakthrough, but that is why the Bhikkhu Bodhi, he is analyzing, he is being American, he says, only through Vipassana meditation, very difficult for you to cut through. You have to have your generosity, you have to have your moral restrainment, you have to have your concentration restrainment. They have to work in a reciprocal way, then only Vipassana can advance without hindrance. Otherwise, you will be caught up in the same whirlpool. Whatever the endurance, whatever the honesty, whatever the steadfastness you have, there are some threats. So therefore, you have to listen again and again to the teaching of the Buddha. You have to discuss with the other peer groups honestly what is happening in you. And then reconsider again and again in the meditation and be prepared. And when that happens, one day these things will come in line with, and then electrically you will understand the idea about the subjective sensuality and the objective sensuality. Then that day onward, your moral behavior naturally come into gentle, uplifted culture situation. Till that, whatever you do is just acting. It is just a superficial. You do out of fear, out of faith. That won't help. The day you come to understand it, the internal and external, the subjective and objective, no one should come and tell you, you must be morally integrated, you must have the moral restraint. So that is why Vidya Dadati Vinaya, whenever the understanding happens, you will be naturally cultured. So this is Buddha. He very well he knows, so therefore he is not asking the morality as a prerequisite qualification. He says, just take mindfulness and do inside meditation. There will be a level, episode, where you yourself has to reconsider your likings and disliking and the moral precepts. And at that time you are not going to take the chance, definitely you are the loser. There you have to have just common sense. It is not happening out of a faith. It is happening due to the inner rearrangement of all the kind of thing. So I think this part of my talk also will helpful for you to reconsider and give the proper value whenever it is necessary to have the restrainment of your faculties on top of the moral restraint, on top of the precepts. And hope it will help promote your meditation and to see feelings as feelings, not as your feelings, but to understand the human mind, and through that your liberation also will be furnished and your understanding of the other people right round also will be helpful. Thank you very much for listening. We have taken 1 hour and 15 minutes. So, if anyone has any question or statements or any suitable topic, feel free to discuss this time. I invite cordially to take part.
Venerable Bhante, the non-materialistic happiness and pleasure that comes from the restraining of the five doors. But I think you're saying that has a basis in the aggregates, in the sense of one restraining the aggregates is a negation. But is it a further aspect? Is it also that non-materialistic pleasure dependent upon some way in which the aggregates are functioning during this meditation?
I would repeat what I have mentioned. So whenever you are managing to deal properly with the 5 hindrances, that means Pancha Nivarana, meditative part become clear, and when that happens, the immaterialistic also pleasure going to happen. When that happens, the attachment to that immaterial pleasure also equal like the attachment to the materialistic pleasure. So your question is related to the aggregates. So the immaterial pleasure, it is no relation with the aggregate, that is, it is rather distant from the aggregates, the materiality or kind of thing, but the objective sensuality is still valid even for the immaterial pleasure. So with that light, can you repeat your question, please?
Yes, where does the non-materialistic pleasure arise from? What causes it to come into being in the physical life?
It happens in the physical body because of the lack of friction. Because let me explain it like that. The materiality, we call the heat, cold, stiffness, tension, the heat, the heat element, water element, the air element and the earth element. They are friction. So when they become subtle, it goes to the space. Once the friction is been tackled, ultimately it goes to the space. When you go to the space, it is like the spacecraft in the orbit. There is not even a helium atom to hit for 10 miles. It's going at a speed. So you are free of the gravitational force, so you are kind of a bliss. So therefore you feel lack of gravity, because lack of friction. Least frictional part. I am giving absolute example, but you have to see in the relative way. So therefore, even your bodily you can feel the lack of gravity. Because so far body has worked with the gravitational sphere, now it's beyond the orbit, because your meditation is mastered the positivity of the earth element, air element, and now ultimately go to the space in between. And as I mentioned in the early talks, the space explaining 96% of the space. Only 4% is the matter. So once you master it, easily you go to the dark energy or dark matter, and there you feel nothing to friction, heat. So even the bodily you can feel, even your feelings going to go to the materialistic, the non-material. And your perception also. You are going to get a perception vocalizable, unarticulated. But you can't deny it. Something like you are in a deep sleep. When you get up, you are refreshed. But did you get it from your hearing or smelling or touching or seeing or even if the feeling of the bed sheet? No. If it is so, no sleep. So exactly the kind of a perception happens. All the perception, the inferior type, we can communicate. This type, only the qualities, you can't communicate. I am telling absolute example, you have to think about the relative. And the volitional involvement almost zero. You have no will, autopiloting. No more emotions, no the motivation, no will, not necessary to have because it's happening in the natural way. So mind has no crafty. The mental craftsman or mental magic is not necessary. So that you can experience it. But let me explain one more tricky thing. If someone is experiencing this immaterial pleasure, they will misunderstand this as sexual pleasure. It's what? Sexual pleasure. Then such a person is facing huge kind of ambiguity with I am losing my morality. Even your senses going to become very tensed. So sometimes it is coming up to such a level, unless otherwise a senior member can tell you, this is a misunderstanding of the sensuous pleasure, a misunderstanding of the non-material pleasure as a material pleasure. Because mind knows only that something. Mind knows only the sexual and sensual pleasure. But when the immaterial pleasure going to happen, mind overread it as sensual pleasure. I heard that the nervous system, the heart and the arm is both sharing the same nerve. Usually a lot of messages coming from the arm. So therefore even the heart attack happens, you feel like a pain on the shoulder. So therefore heart specialist says, if you feel the pain in the shoulder, please go and check. Because our mind never gets the messages from the heart. It is an automatic machine is running. When the heart going to issue kind of a signal, mind can't decode it. Because it is getting 99% of the signal from the arm, therefore it read it as the pain in the arm, or pain going this way, or pain going that way. So therefore, once they understand this, heart failure can be camouflaged as the arm failure. Exactly the same thing happens when you are practicing. Meditation is very nice happening, but so much of sensuous pleasure going to arise. So much of sometimes erratic feelings going to happen. So you become bewildered because you sure you have the moral integrity. You are behaving in the very decent crowd. But even the by is still little startling, so much of this thing going to happen. So this is also This is also, I have my experience, when it is happening to the males, they discuss it. When it happens to the female, it's a trap. They hardly express it in the proper way to the proper person. If he is expressed to the wrong person, he will exploit it. You see? So therefore, we need a huge demand for the female meditation masters. With no one to share. These young people, younger crowd, sort of meditations are going on. When it is successful happen, they go and put into that cleavage and no one to talk to. So therefore, this is not only in the understanding of the materiality and non-materiality. Even these taboos, in the social taboos, there also you get hooked up there. Because this pleasure, you can't handle it. It is not human. It is happening in such a way, it is overwhelming. And sometimes misunderstand as the sexual pleasure. Then what is going to happen?
When it's not materialistic pleasure, it is unmanifest, it is occurring, and then it subsides. Does it have a transformative effect with regard to the mental continuum in the meditation future? Or is it just a barrier that...
No, it is not always a barrier. It is the healing power. It is a reshuffling your mentality and physicality for preparing for the next sphere. You are acclimatizing. Because you are full nourished with non-material pleasure. You understand this material pleasure is such a beastly in compared to this material pleasure, because this only human being can understand it. That human beings do not, without understanding that they are just fighting for the beastly kind of material pleasure, and the world becomes non-human. The person who is going beyond that, understand it is unalloyed, inalienable, need not any maintenance, even government can't tax you, and it is getting out of nothing. So you understand this is what the Buddha's compassion is. He says that at least you must understand before your death, this is what you call immaterial pleasure, then only you are going at the tip of the diving board of the swimming pool, so you can dive now. Now we are at the tip, it is bumpy. Unless otherwise you are in the hard ground, you never go to the tip. Thinking this hard ground is only the thing you know, according to your physics, your chemistry and your biology. But the Buddha says, unless you are ready to sacrifice, you can't go to it. It is not negative, it is really positive, it is really recharging you, it is really vitalizing you. It sometimes people call as mystic, but this is not mystic, this is empirical. The amount of the friction gone, so much of the relaxation happens. Even the Nibbana, this is not the Nibbana, this is a kind of in-between kind and indicate that you have the potential. This is a very good sign that you have a hope in this life. And it is not permanent, but once you go there, you know the way. You know the ways and means and the art. Next time also, hit the target with much success. But not for the sure. And it's a variable situation. But you come to know, this is what the human capacity means. Our mind has come to such evolution level. We are not only going for the natural selection for the sensuous pleasure, we have another avenue. A natural selection to the unperceivable kind of pleasure, not the non-material. Avedaita Sukha. So, that is the only, when you come up to that level, only you can understand the sansaric kind of pleasure, or this perpetual kind of pleasure. It's a naturally mind is selective. That's the only thing it knows. But when you come up to that level, you are for the first time given another chance. There's a kind of a pleasure out of nothing, free of charge, there, and that you have to only entertain if you are ready to give up your likings and dislikings. If you are ready to give your personality traits. So many people understand even at that level not to give up their likings and dislikings. They are so conservative. They are not to give up their personality. They are so entrapped with these social values, worldly values. So the Buddha says, no one can help you. You yourself has to take the chance, and even if you are going to take the wrong decision, more and more you are going to meditate, again and again the chance will come. The day you take the decision, there you are, that is what called akalika, without giving a chance to the time, immediately you select it, you are there. Because your potential is there. So therefore the immaterial pleasure is not always negative. It's become trap if you are going to magnetize it.
It's a trap that the next time you sit to pursue it. Right?
That's the one way of manifesting in the yogis. Whenever they become meditation successful, you can look at my email at 9:30, 11:30, 1:30 they are writing emails. My meditation is so good. It is like that, like that, like that. They can't prevent even in the midnight they are writing. And next email is, I expected that, it is not happening. Now what to do? There is a human hedonic kind of culture, hedonic kind of the understanding, because they always experience this as a pure positive. It's a good achievement. This is me, this is mine, this is my soul. So they are sleeping, and next day morning, early morning, going and sitting, experiencing that bliss. It won't come. Unless otherwise causative factors are come alive with, it won't come. But that does not indicate it is permanently withdrawn. You are important, that is there. So therefore it's a huge amount of boldness in spirituality, a boldness in your religious feeling, in the faith, necessary for someone to continue with these hurdles. So that is why the Buddha says, whatever the subject matter you know, it is immaterial when you come up to that level. Because for the first time it happens. So it's marvelous, and it is really, you are reborn like. Your values and everything, you are reborn. So therefore then only you can raise your head above the water level. Otherwise you are under the water. For the first time you can see what is happening in the world. Because you are sure you can raise the level above the nose level. Till that we are in such a torturing, such a burning world. But over there still the burning, below part is still burning and torturing, but you can just have the glimpse of what is happening. And it was even before the time of the Buddha. There were some people above they have raised the level, but they attached into that. So that it's also in the end of it. The Buddha was the very first person who went up to that level, and he was rational. Not to get magnetized into that. And still he has the 99% doubt anyone will fall into that trap. That's why he was hesitant to teach the people. Even if they go there, still the trap is there. Because that was happened before the Buddha. That he keep from the beginning, specifically in the meditation instruction, specifically related to the insight meditation, the choiceless awareness, unassuming, non-reaction, evenly suspended attention, suspended decision. All these things indicates whenever you are going to get the good results, be careful. And therefore you can, other way around, you can say, if anyone bogus, claiming and this kind of, you can understand they are half-boiled or half-boiled ants. Their digestion also stomach pain. If you are going to eat, you are also going to end up with the indigestion. Humbleness and unassuming quality is a very serious character in the inside meditation. So you never create any repercussions. Any good thing happens, no problem, you underestimate. As much as underestimate. So therefore it's a kind of a utter humbleness, utter letting the nature to happen, letting the nature to flow, and you become just like a flute. As far as you are empty, nice music is going to out. Whenever it is going to fulfill, the music becomes very rough. The flute has to be completely empty. You know the art of getting empty then and there. And even the bad thing going to happen, the torturing feeling going to happen, never mind. Just like the desirable feeling, it has to be to whom we have to complain. If we have an omnipresent God, we can complain and lodge a case. What the hell you created that I am going to get the bad feeling, but Buddha has not given that option also. So we have to deal with our own, how do you call the painful feeling and the pleasurable feeling.
This materialistic pleasure, joy, that can occur in both serenity meditation and vipassana. Is it more prevalent in one or the other?
I didn't get your question, please.
Non-materialistic rapture, joy, can that occur equally in serenity meditation as well as insight meditation? Or is it more prevalent in one or the other?
In the insight meditation, the alarming part is very prominent. It is telling you are bound to get this kind of thing, but don't get attached. But in the serenity meditation, that take it as a motivational factor for you to go to the higher pleasure. Really they are talking about the flaws or disadvantage of it. So that is the kind of argument between the serenity meditation and the insight meditation. And therefore serenity meditation people say insight meditation won't experience it. They don't know. That is why they are talking about underestimating it. But all the insight meditation masters, they know, they experience, but they never blow it up. They never talk about that. They always underestimate. So therefore it almost like not experience. Because they know the flaws of it, or the danger of it, disadvantage of it. So therefore, whatever the pleasure they are going to happen, it's almost like the pain. Never make any claims. And rather disclaiming. And in this thing also Buddha says, whenever the Sekapukkala or the Sotapanna, he going to experience the rapture, the desire, he become ashamed. He says, even with that kind of a restraint, still the desire rises, still this thing happens. And instead he go for the upekha, the equanimity. Etan santang etan panitan yadidan sabba sankara samato sabbupati patinissaggo yadidan upekha. He says that is blissful, that is serene. What is the upekha? There is no ups and downs. Ups and downs only with the desire and undesire. Therefore, I better maintain the upekha. Because he always, not only disclaiming the ups and the downs, he claims the middle. He claims the middle part. So that is a completely new thing for our life. Because we have been trained to pursuit of pleasure. And pleasure-seeking game, or under such circumstances, if you are going to develop this kind of equanimity, so it is natural for people to say, you are mad. I really appreciate it. You will put into the asylum telling that you don't know how to entertain the life. And that is the way people are thinking. So whenever such people are claimed, I feel laugh. I feel like hilarious. They are really true to type. That's why they are telling, because they are, even with at the cost of their moral integrity, at the cost of their reputation, they are so much attached to the pleasure seeking. If someone going to prescribe that equanimity, they say it is something rotten, something bad.
Thank you.
So how can you come out of this pain or this sort of pressure which is what you get you and then no?
Didn't get your question.
Say that you are getting this pressure, like sexual pressure in those levels. Say if you experience how you get out of it and go further.
You mean understand the material pleasure, the material pleasure? It's a hell of a trap. It's a hell of a trap, unless otherwise you directly talk with someone. He who knows, this is what happened to me, I am going backward or forward, and if you can really give a good account of what is happening, he can give you some tools for you to check it and see whether you have to continue to mindfulness, continue to the primary object, and the it is just a mere misrepresentation or misinterpretation, but this due, that immaterial pleasure is due to at that time. You can tackle that, but if you are going to misread it or misinterpret, that is it's a laughing stock. Because people became so ashamed.
You have to go back to the primary object.
So by going back to the primary object, you can test it. It's like checking the gold with the whetstone. But you don't have that kind of a clarity when such a thing going to happen, because all of a sudden this the feeling is going to happen. Feeling, sometimes the hatred. Some hatred going to happen, you like a short-tempered and feel like firing and attacking like. And soon it goes. But anyway, by the time if it is something, commitment happens, everyone come and say, that is why I told you, don't go for meditation, it is leading you mad and be like us and how nice the life that you are supposed to be very saintly and kind of, what you are doing, that you are so sexy or you are so hatred. No way. It's a kind of a joke. It's a kind of a joke, that misunderstanding, misrepresenting, misinterpretation of the mind. A very valuable mind that we are fostering from the day to night. And it is completely, it has its own agenda. Whatever the signal comes, it interprets or fulfills its own agenda. Never for this game. So that is why the Buddha says, even you are sleeping with it, even if you are fostering it, it's never good for you. It is for its own agenda. It indicates that the way it is interpreted. It's a self-assertion, self-instinct, ego instinct is the happening. So therefore, any love you have to the other is nothing but the love to ego. So these things are very not nice to talk with the family people. People who are running families, because you will not welcome me for the next year. Because I am talking unwanted things. But that is the truth. Any love, any patriotism, any kind of you are talking is a confirmation of the self-instinct. And you are going to give a lot of nice words. Telling, I am very altruistic and I am very Samaritan, I am thinking about the benefit of the others and all the kind of things. You don't know how much of the boosting of your ego is going to happen. So that is what in the society is happened, standing on ceremonies and boosting of the other's ego and this ego, so fame and the gain and all the kind of thing. So that is why it says, even so much of arahants appeared in this world, out of the Buddha Sasana, no one throw a party. No one throw a party telling, I became an arahant, or I became a sotapanna, because there's nothing to advertise. The advertisement psychology and the vipassana meditation is contradictory. Anyone advertising, take care about him. There won't be any essence over there. Because this is nothing to sell. No one is going to understand that the immaterial pleasure also have a flaws. So therefore, if someone is going to sell it, it is not a good product for selling in the market. It is invariably the truth. So you have to do that your experiment while in this the prime time of your life. And more you understand, you master not only your mind, you are mastering the human mind. Mind at large. So therefore, wherever you go, you feel you are at home. You feel like among relatives. You don't feel distant, that is not me, out of me. You feel everyone's mistake is my mistake. I am responsible for everyone's mistake because I understand their mind. So then the mother is looking at her own child, and every mistake of the child is the mother's child. That is the way you feel, even though inside meditation is not talking about the loving kindness and the compassion, it is invariably happening. Moment you understand your nature, so what to do? People has to do the same commitment. Okay, now we have taken, the time is 9:50. So, assuming there are no more statements or comments or questions, I invite to mark the end of the day's session. So today is our 6th day. So far, the retreat went without much of a hitch, much of a problem. So we must thankful for all the organizers and those who are helping and supporting, seen and unseen everyone. Whatever the merits we accumulated, we must really share with them. May all the seen and unseen beings help organize this retreat. May rejoice our merits with 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Equally all our dear and dear ones, relatives, may share by appreciating our offer. And we also share it with these 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May all the merits may help us to keep our objective always remembered and straightened, and so that we will not take the wrong paths and the wrong association, and may we reach our final goal in the shortest cut. With that idea, we are going to recite the traditional chanting and in terms of sharing merits. Ettavata cagammehi sampatam punya sampatam sabbe devanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavata cagammehi sampatam punya sampatam sabbe bhuta sampatti siddhya. Ettavata cagammehi sampatam punya sampatam sabbe sattanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Akasatta cubummatta devanaga mahitika punyantang anumoditva cirang rakkantu sasana. Akasatta cubummatta devanaga mahitika punyantang anumoditva cirang rakkantu desana. Akasatta cubummatta devanaga mahitika punyantang anumoditva cirang rakkantu mang parang. Idang wo nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatiyo. Idang wo nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatiyo. Idang wo nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatiyo. Imina punya kammena mami bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammena mami bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammena mami bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.